What'd you have for breakfast this morning, Seb?
Egg whites. Yeah,
Egg whites.
yeah, boring breakfast this morning. I thought I'd take it easy, just a little something. How about yourself?
I had two coffees and a piece of gum.
Yeah, good.
You'll probably recognize this and be curious where my closet is because
I know.
I'm actually working in the office today, and it's because there's so much room. So why not give it a go?
I thought maybe you got syndicated and the increased the budget. You're in like in a studio or something, but
Um,
not
I'm
yet.
I'm not Seb Dignard famous yet, but,
Oh
but maybe
God.
one day. But anyways, tell me about what's going on with iENSO. You are one of the booming companies in Toronto. You're still hiring through the pandemic,
Yeah.
um, and that's a great thing to hear, great thing to see. It looks like the dress code is a little bit relaxed. I normally see in a tie. But tell me more about iENSO and what's really been the secret sauce to make sure that you're still able to hire through COVID-19.
Yeah, actually, it's an interesting story. So I think right now we're looking for six people, maybe even seven. We're actually going to make a decision in the next week or two. But honestly, you know what? I think one of the main reasons we're seeing a good boom and things are going well for us is the industry we're in. We're actually right time, right place, right expertise, right right culture, and in the end, it's because what people are trying to do right now is innovate. A lot of people are getting hurt with shipments, people who are in full production, people in the service industry, etc. But the market that we serve is actually in full blown innovation, and it's actually pretty competitive. And what is that exactly? So what that is people who are looking to add imaging devices to embedded systems.
Mm,
So you have people who now understand what AI can do for them, edge computing, cloud computing. There's this whole concept of making your devices a bit more innovative. And what are they doing to do that? Is they're actually adding imaging.
right.
So if you look at AI, what's the thing that you need to make that more effective? And that's data. And what iENSO does is enables you to take visual data and then start processing that for value-added services that you want to deliver to your customer, whether that's adding things, autonomous vehicles, drones, home robotics, home automation, intelligent toys, all of the things that you and I, when we were children, we were dreaming up of to make life easier is actually now a possibility because of all the technology coming together.
That must be a massive amount of data. Like I'm thinking of, you just said intelligent toys.
Yeah.
I remember my intelligent toy was a Tonka truck and my imagination. And it
Yeah.
was on go outside, stop eating cookies, leave me alone. That was it. Um, the kids today, like they get toys with cameras and everything. Like,
Yeah, yeah. I was actually at CES this year, and wow, one of the biggest buzz elements there were the fact that these toys were now interactive, and you were having booths where people were actually picking up these toys, and the toys were able to measure and view your facial expression and kind of start to adapt, and the toy was then emotionally interacting with you. Well, to do
that's
that, you got to be able to process the data that in this case is your facial expression, and the toy then starts to interact with you. So that's really interesting, and you can't have that without being able to process large amounts of data on devices, and be able to capture what the toy sees.
so. Are you familiar with the company out of Montreal, Wrench?
Yeah, yeah,
So we did a lot of work with Wrench and last year and this year. And their technology allows cameras to detect human motion. And I remember I sat down with their CEO or COO, one of their C levels, when I first met, and he was kind of describing, kind of similar to what you're describing. And I asked him, "Okay, have you seen the show Black Mirror on Netflix?"
yeah.
There was the one episode, I forget what it was, what the title was, but Miley Cyrus was the voice of a toy, the Miley toy, whatever.
Yeah.
I thought it was a really well done episode, but it also freaked the hell out of me. Like how how close, you're on the inside on the tech side, how close are we to living Black Mirror in real life?
That's a great question. And I guess it depends who you talk to. So we see companies, that are claiming that they're sitting on some major breakthrough in terms of algorithm deployment, things like that. And then, when they go down the path, it's not totally in tune yet. So I think we're going to get there quickly. The reason is because if you talk to anyone who's deployed any technology into any market, first, second generations, they tend to be a little choppy, especially when you're going to mass market.
Sure.
But then the consumer feedback, the interest you get, the investments that then come in, then it's a bit of a snowball effect. And then the masses just push innovation, and they actually will be saying, listen, we've got money to spend there. So I think, there's a few Black Mirror episodes that, really fit into our market in terms of how you're able to process and this IoT and AI. So are we far off? I don't think so. Do we still need to be able to hone our capabilities, make sure that the applications are consumer centric, where people really want to spend money for them? Yeah, I think so. I think it's got still some work to do, but I think we're closer than we've ever been. And I think that's because of the software companies, the hardware companies, the consumers really wanting these products, people actually being able to build positive business cases that people are actually willing to spend money. I'll give you a perfect example. When I first got into imaging, one of my first sales calls was to a company that wanted to put cameras in refrigerators.
Cameras in refrigerators?
Yeah, and I was a company called Luminera, which is still around today, now as Teledyne Luminera. But we went on this sales call, and I sat down and I said, well, listen, that sounds like a great idea, but why do you want to put these imaging devices in refrigerators? And you got to remember, back then, that was almost 16 years ago. I was selling cameras, imaging devices that were ranging anywhere between $500 and $16,000.
Okay.
So I said, why do you want to put a camera in a refrigerator? He goes, well, listen, I'm concerned about the energy it takes to, every time you open up your fridge, you lose actually some energy.
Oh, I see.
I'm not the smartest guy, but I can do a back in the envelope and say, okay, you're going to save pennies on energy by opening and closing your refrigerator to see if your milk is full or not. But you're going to put a $500 imaging device in the refrigerator to do that. It just doesn't make economic sense. It might make for a lot of ultra rich people who want the gimmick of the camera in the refrigerator. But fast forward to today, 16 years later, and you go on a sales call, and let's say the same person who wants to put a camera in a refrigerator. Well, the economics and the technology are different. Now, what does that mean? That means you can actually put, instead of a $500 device, a $20, $30 device in a refrigerator, and the data you can collect is more important than the energy you're saving by not opening. So the fact that you can put algorithms to help you assess what's in the refrigerator, the data that someone might want to use, for example, marketers in a region might want to be able to take that information and make good marketing market decisions on, do we push a certain type of product? Do we discount the olives in the 613 area code because for some reason the people in Ottawa are letting the olives sit on the shelf for too long? Will it affect, so all of a sudden you're having a much more dynamic conversation about real business decisions that need to be made because you're able to capture that imaging data. So we're seeing that all over the place where, even farming, for example, farming before was someone going into the field to say, oh, it hasn't rained in 2 days. This part of my field's starting to get a little dry. Well, now we can actually add a lot of technology where, you can have devices that help the farming professionals of this planet make better decisions on accurate data. So I'm pretty excited to be part of that. As you can tell, it's a lot of fun. And you know what, you can be talking to someone in the morning in our world who needs imaging data to help, for example, on the coronavirus crisis. And in the afternoon, I could be talking to someone who wants to put better imaging devices on drones. So it's a lot of fun because it's just ubiquitous coverage in terms of imaging in the world today.
And how much of what you do is software versus hardware? Because I'm trying to think of, like, we've hired a few embedded firmware engineers past couple of weeks. There's a couple more to come. I'm just thinking with the transition to work from home for everybody in that space where, you're certainly coming up with the tech to make it possible, but are you physically assembling this stuff too, or has this been a transition where through partnership, it's a matter of you take care of this and they take care of that?
Yeah, so that's a great question, and I think that just to break it down, the first level of knowledge in the imaging system is at two levels. It's actually at the image sensor itself. So companies like Sony, onsemi, OmniVision are companies that are in our market. They're doing a great job innovating on the actual imaging capturing device. We call them sensors, and they're CMOS, CCD, etc. And the other major element are whether they're FPGAs or whether they're ISP DSPs, and you have these little SOMs. I mean, there's quite a few companies innovating there. And then there's the other extreme that we were just talking about is the capability to process those images and make decisions with it. I would tell you iENSO's in the middle. So what we do is we look at the different innovation that's coming from the hardware-centric world, the component level. We create the hardware, the boards, whether they're sensor boards, that's just taking a sensor and outputting a raw image. We create what we call these SOMs, these ISP DSP boards that actually process the data, make sure that the image is processable and it's the quality of image that's needed. For example, someone who's doing image processing in a 7-Eleven versus someone who's trying to detect cancer cells, the image quality is very, very different from the science behind it. So we get to know what level of expertise is there. And a lot of that is actually still very much in your capability of producing good hardware. But then when you move up, you start to make sure that, the marriage between the processing device and the image capture device, and actually in our market, we're calling it image tuning. All of that is is there. So iENSO, and then and this actually ties into one of our core values as a company, ingenuity. So while we let the hardware component level innovate, the Sonys of this world and the umbrellas of this world, and then you've got our customers who are innovating on how they can process the data, the image itself. We're in the middle, and we let the two extremes innovate, and we bring what we call this concept of ingenuity. And we make sure that we're able to bring this little value extra, whether it's our office in China or our office in Toronto, to really process that data for our customers. So we do a bit of both. And I'd say right now, in terms of our staff, I'd say 60% and growing is firmware, and then the rest is hardware on the engineering side.
Okay. And how have you found the transition to well, you were working remotely before anyway, weren't you?
Well, I think if you ask my wife, I've been working remotely for 10 years on a plane. The only difference is instead of a hotel and a cafe, I'm actually at my home office. But yeah, so the group's in Toronto, and I'm actually based in Ottawa. So I was actually going to the office every other week, or I was on the road every other week. So remote is not something that's new to me.
How much do you miss Toronto traffic right now?
Well, actually, I didn't get exposed to Toronto traffic that much. So every time I'd go to Toronto, I'd stay very close to the office. And quite honestly, the only thing I would do was focus on working. So, it was a 5 to 10 minute drive to the office, and I didn't get to downtown. So we're in Richmond Hill, so I was able to save my the troubles of traffic.
Okay. Every time I go home to see my family's in just outside of Waterloo. Every time I go to see my family, it's you're excited, you get in the car, you hit the 401, you're great. You hit Toronto and you're like, ugh.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't miss that at all.
You know what I find the drive on the 7 from Ottawa to Toronto. So if you don't take the 401 and you go through the 6-lane highways, you're just taking that through the park and through I forget the few little towns you drive through. I think it's pretty scenic and it's better. Yep. And you throw in an audiobook, or you put in your podcasts or any kind of things just to get the mind going. The drive goes by so quickly.
So you bring up a good point. What are you reading now? What podcasts do you recommend? How do you stay sharp when it's tough to stay sharp?
Yeah, I've really got it. There's a Freakonomics podcast I listen to quite a bit. There's the TED Talks. I think they're doing a good job of bringing that to the podcast world.
Yeah.
Those are the ones I listen to. I'm a big fan, I'll be honest with you, with the whole school of thought behind the scale-up enterprises. So Gazelles International, and there's a whole school of thought that's developed around it. There's books like Traction, 3 Way, Scale Up, Good to Great, obviously some of the classics. But what I really like is that scale up mentality on how you take a company and really drive the value to increase. And I think those books are great to read because it gives you those tips and tricks and really shows you that as you scale up a company, you're not alone, right?
Yeah, no, I hear you. Good to great. I don't want to say love hate, but I think there's pieces of it that are great. There's pieces of it that are good. And there's pieces of it that I just think are just, come on, like, right. But I do like, I think we're in the same boat where we're both in scaling situations and we both can take pieces of it, not just of it, but of that type of knowledge and apply it in different ways and that kind of stuff. You're hiring a bunch. Outside of the hard skills on job descriptions or resumes or whatever, you've already mentioned the core value of ingenuity. When you meet someone, or I guess virtually now, what are the intangibles that really stand out to you and iENSO and for people listening now that are checking out your website and checking out your jobs and are curious about joining?
Yep.
What are the intangibles that really make someone stand out for you and your team?
Yeah, that's a good question because you hear a lot of people always say the same things, and we've got so one of the reasons I joined iENSO is because I worked with iENSO before. Before I became an employee and part of the executive team here, I actually had iENSO as a technology partner in my past life. And one of the reasons I really enjoyed working with iENSO was the corporate culture. The founders and every staff member there was really focused on my success, was really focused on making sure that I could go to market and I was able to meet my customer needs, et cetera, et cetera. And I know a lot of companies say that. A lot of companies will say, we're so focused on the customer or this or that, but they don't live it, right? It's easy to say these things, but when I got exposed to iENSO in my past life, I was really impressed. And not only were they back then the best kept secret of the imaging world, because they were really focused on projects versus building products and rebuilding that. They really had that can't do attitude, and we're there to help you. We're there to help you succeed. So, committed to the customers, integrity and respect. All of those things are things that really are present within iENSO. But what we're looking for in the people that join us, and this might sound silly, but and the people around iENSO really want to create a success story. We really want to scale this up and expose it for what it really is. And that, like I said, is the imaging world's best kept secret.
Awesome.
So we're looking for people who, want to have fun, who are really committed on its customers and partners' successes, but also people who have a want and a need and aren't afraid to succeed and start moving forward, right? And I've told people this many times, if you're coming here to coast, it's not going to work because we're really firing on all cylinders. And a lot of people are relying on us to help them innovate to hit their market metrics. So we want to create a success story for iENSO. We want people who are entrepreneurial, who know what it takes to bring it to the next level. And we also want people who are team oriented, people who can work well and have fun while we're doing it. Another thing, and this was funny because when I first got to iENSO, I wanted to see, what are the key elements that are making people stay there? And one thing you'll notice is, the key employees at iENSO have been there quite a while. And two things stood out is this concept of team family. And there's another saying that came out from Fernand, the manager of our entire software group. And he says, you got to realize at iENSO, we're hackers. We're not hipsters, meaning we don't have this coffee machine in the kitchen. We don't have a policy right now where you can bring your dog to work, and we've got but what we have are great people who are very good at what they do, who can deliver results on tight schedules and are really focused on success. And that takes that kind of hacker get it done mentality. And that's what we're looking for people to join us. So it's great because everyone aligns really well with that.
So from what I understand, it's hackers, not hipsters.
Yep.
My one of my business partners, Rob Lee, pretty well. He has I think the word is penchant for flannel. And he has the capability of growing a mighty beard. What I'm hearing is that if an embedded firmware engineer happens to wear flannel and have a big beard, you're not going to turn them away. No. One thing I'm hoping that we can add into our contract, and I think you'll be okay with this. Hey, Rob, come here for a second, would you? Seb, I would like to make a modification or an addendum to our contract. And
okay.
can you please make Rob bring his beard back and we'll put it on paper?
Hi, Seb.
Oh man, who is that guy?
We're having a physical distancing office day to test it out.
That's great. And that's, by the way, that looks really good. That's a nice setup you guys have.
We, Rob, by the way, can we put that in the contract? Are you cool with that?
Oh yeah.
Oh, Rob, come on, man. You're bringing the beard back.
We'll have to have my wife.
He's going to have his wife sign off on it. But so, Seb, what's the website, and how can people get in touch? Like, is applying through the website the best way?
Yeah, so there's obviously a few different ways. We got a lot of social media outlets out there, but obviously the best way is always through the website, www.ienso.com. We're looking for great engineers. We're looking for guys who want to create guys and girls, want to create a success story, and people who really want to build cool products and have fun every day. Because like I said, there's every market in the world right now is looking to ways to embedded vision, and we're definitely part of the market leaders. So come have some fun with us and build cool stuff. That's
awesome. What I hear is hackers, not hipsters. Black Mirror is real. Rob's bringing the beard back, pending wife approval.
Yeah, let's do it. As long as he doesn't ask me to do a beard at the same time, because I couldn't. I couldn't even get the lamb chops going. I don't know what's going on. I got to go see a doctor.
Yesterday. No, kidding. Anyway, have a great rest of the day. I'm glad everyone's safe, happy, and everything's booming, which is awesome. And it's been awesome to see the team continue to grow and continue to push the needle forward. So that's awesome. Right here.
Take it easy.
Bam.
All right. Thanks a lot.